Hello, and welcome to the Thrive Mindset Podcast. I am so glad you are here with me. My name is Carrie Dale, and I am your host. I am an entrepreneur, author, podcaster, manifester, and motivator. And I am on a mission to empower you to create the life of your dreams. If you are looking to up-level your life, relationships, finances, productivity, and success, you have come to the right place. I will share with you tools, resources, strategies, my failures, and my successes that have all helped me achieve the life of my dreams. It is my goal with this podcast to help you see your potential and empower you to create the life of your dreams. So let's get to it. Well, welcome back to the Thrive Mindset Podcast. I'm Carrie Dale, your host, and today I have an exceptional guest. Her name is Christine McCarron. Christine is a serial entrepreneur, and she is based out of Massachusetts and started more than nearly 10 businesses over the last several decades. Christine's entrepreneurial journey began at age 30 with her first company, Hungry Lion, which imported all things belly dancing supplies from Morocco and Egypt to the United States. In the years since, she's led real estate companies, helped build the Beehive co-working community, and even served as a home improvement contractor. Welcome, Christine.
Thank you so much, Carrie. I can't wait to talk to you today. I'm really psyched.
Oh, I am so excited. You have done so many things and are doing so many things right now that it's just really, really inspiring. And I know that my listeners are just like sitting there going, what has this woman did and how has she done it? So can we start with like where this inspiration has come in you? I mean, you started this quite a while ago, but you've gone down many journeys. So where did that come from?
I think I was always sort of a closet entrepreneur, but I didn't know that it was a thing, right? Because everybody I knew was like 9 to 5, you go get a job, whatever. And I was overseas. I was working in London for a software company. And I just didn't know, back home where I was an expat from, the company was sort of getting really negative. It had been bought out and it just wasn't pretty. And I thought, oh, do I want to go back there? And so I was talking to my neighbor and she said, well, why don't you? She said, it's hard to imagine what you want to do when you're doing something else. So why don't you just quit your job? And I was like, oh, why don't I just quit my job? So I did.
Wow.
And that was kind of the beginning.
That is such a bold move.
In retrospect, but I'm really glad I did it.
Yeah. So what was the first thing that you went to then?
Well, it's interesting you asked because I was sort of sitting around waiting for, a lightning bolt to the head and nothing was happening. So I thought, well, I'm probably just going to go back to that same company, but as a consultant. So I took this online course, which was Start Your Own Consulting Company. And I figured that people would already know what they wanted to consult in, but actually part of the class was a discovery process to figure out what type of consulting you wanted to do. So I thought, okay. I mean, I kind of thought, oh, I'll just go back here. But so 4 questions. One was, what kind of jobs have you had before? What are the components of those jobs that you most enjoyed? What do you do for fun? And then if no matter what you did, you'd make $200,000 a year, what would you do? And so I thought, this is the question that I want answered. So I just started really thinking about all the many different parts, components and things. And so in the end, I'd ruled things out. I went through this whole process and I had circled in the end, traveling and shopping. And I was like, that's it. So just as a joke, I sent a note to the instructor. I said, oh, I figured out what I want to do. I'm going to be an international shopper and rich people will pay me to fly around the world and buy them stuff. And he said, that's a real job, actually. It's called importing. And I was like, oh my God. And that was how I started Hungry Lion with all that research.
Wow. So wait, what made you want to get into belly dancing? I guess equipment, supply. I mean, I don't even know what comes with that.
I know. It's so silly because I had also planned at the same time to do an around the world trip. And I had visited Morocco a couple of times while I was living in London. So that was my first stop. And then I was going to go to Egypt, and then I was going to go to other continents and have a great time. And since I had just before I left figured out that I wanted to be an importer, I'm sitting in Morocco saying, what are you doing? You're going to then spend all your money flying around the world and then what? Start the business? So I cut the trip short and I only went to Morocco and Egypt. And so I bought stuff at each of those places. So before I left Morocco, I ordered some of the beautiful, they have beautiful wooden boxes and these crazy goatskin lamps, which are, of course, the ones I liked were 6 feet tall. I was really very inexperienced. and then went to Egypt. And as just for a gift for a friend, I bought this little belly dancing hip scarf. And she said, these are really fun. You should buy some more. So I bought them and started showing them to my clients. And that ended up being my whole, the major part of my business. So I was actually the first belly dancing hip scarves on Amazon.com when it just started
Wow.
with their Seller Central. Yeah. What a distinction.
I wonder how many there are now.
Oh, a lot.
Really? No belly dancing?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know a lot, but there are many dozens for sure.
Wow. That's amazing. Yeah. And then, okay, so you got into selling belly dancing supplies on Amazon. And then what?
Then I made the mistake of, because, I've always been a real estate person, right? I've always loved buildings and real estate and all that good stuff. And so I bought, a friend of mine was selling their shop and I was like, oh, I want to buy the shop and I'm going to turn it into a retail location for my wonderful supplies. And, it wasn't just belly dancing stuff. I wanted to be able to get back to my original job or goal of traveling around the world. Mm-hmm. And you can't do that as a wholesaler, right? You have to keep selling the same stuff over and over again. I thought, boring. So I thought the store would be my creative outlet where I could go back to traveling the world. But, it was a slog. I did not like being in the shop. I was like a caged animal, trying to bounce off the walls because it's too much, too much time in one place. Mm-hmm. So I ended up, I was doing the wholesaling. I had the shop and I ran into a friend of mine who said she had just passed her real estate exam. And I was like, oh, wow, I would love to do that. And I called her the next day. I said, would you think I was copying you if I got my real estate, if I took my test too? She's like, of course not. Go ahead. And so I said, do you think your boss would hire me? And she said, yeah. I mean, I didn't know at the time that literally once you get your real estate license, you can pretty much walk into any real estate company in the world and get a job. But I didn't know that. I thought it was a big deal that I was going to get hired by this company. And so eventually I just sold the business, not the business. I sold the building. I closed down the wholesale. It just really wasn't making enough money to make it worth my time. Mm-hmm. And I didn't get to travel as much as I was planning. So,
so real estate, did it fill a different void for you? Because you are still doing that today.
Oh, yeah. I have, since I was 16 years old, I have wanted to be a real estate investor. And I just never, I remember actually being at a party and this girl dropped in and she must have been all of 5 feet tall. And she's had to leave the party early because she had to go to a property that she owned. And she pulls out this ball of keys and I was like, oh my God, she's like, and I had the same vision, like, oh, you're going to go knocking on some tenant's door. They're going to be like 6'5" with lots of muscles. And you're going to say, I want the rent. And, but of course, real estate investing could be a lot different than that. But I just thought, oh man, could I ever do that? And that hung around in my head. And that was even after, like I said, 16, I was laying on the floor of my parents' house, reading the paper. And there was this 3-family house in a kind of a druggy town, not really a great community, but it was like $16,000. And I said to my dad, man, this thing's only $16,000, blah, blah. And he said, oh, what about, I'm 16 years old. What am I going to go get a loan? Right. I mean, I know people have done these things. They have been very entrepreneurial at a young age, but I was not brave enough to do that. So it festered and hung around. And it wasn't until I was much older that I actually was able to finally be a successful real estate investor.
But in the meantime, you sold real estate and helped others, right? Yeah. Yes. So, and I think what I'm hearing, like the key here for you is you're not bored. Like that is not what I want to say. It is very hard to be bored in real estate.
Yes, exactly.
It is always a new adventure, right? Always something different to deal with. It's never the same. So what else? I mean, I think you've written books.
I have. Actually, here's a book right here. This is an attempt to help other women to get involved in real estate investing. Because I do think there's a lot of that, feeling that it's more of a man thing, like it's easier for men, they're more handy, they're stronger, they can do this. And it's just a misnomer because we don't really have to change toilets out at 2 a.m. if we don't want to.
No, not at all. I love that you're empowering women too. I mean, it's huge. And as far as the world today, I mean, unfortunately, still women are still trying to catch up in this world of men, and to know that they can do the same things, and quite honestly, in many ways better,
Absolutely.
is amazing. A lot of entrepreneurs that I know have like a process that they do every morning, a morning routine, just something that gets them going every day and that they are consistent with. Do you have that in your life?
I do. I definitely do. It's so funny because I used to be so proud of the fact that I didn't have to get out of bed till like 7:30 in the morning. And, I have this great life. I never have to set the alarm. But now, and I still don't really have to set the alarm, but I'd set multiple alarms throughout the morning so that I'm doing things in a certain way. And the first one goes off at 5:15. And then I start listening to Earl Nightingale's 30-day test.
Oh,
So I'd listen to that. I might listen to the Scrolls, Og Mandino's Scrolls, the greatest salesman in the world. And I have an affirmations that I recite. I have my self-confidence formula that I recite. Just listening to different inspirational or motivational type videos and stuff in the morning. And then I do my meditating. I go to the gym. And then I try to always be back here at my Beehive co-working community by 8:30. Yeah, that's my sort of like my basically 3 hours of me time.
Have you noticed since you started that a shift in how your life works? Yeah,
absolutely. Do something that you've done before and you realize how differently you're dealing with it. Right. You'd like, oh, I just walked into this place and I just talked to these strangers and I just told that guy that I wasn't going to do that. And, in a very nice way. Right. And I didn't feel intimidated by that person or whatever. Right. It's just subtle shifts that you might not even recognize because it's a very slow, gradual process. Then you think back and you go, when this happened to me last year, it was really overwhelming. And here this year was just no big deal. Right. So,
yeah. Yeah, I can imagine, especially the affirmations. Well, actually, all of that. For me, I do a lot of gratitude work and I journal and I spend a lot of time in the morning doing that. But it still involves that affirmation and reminding myself I can do this. And it's powerful to me. And I love sharing that with other people, how they can change their lives too, doing that.
Yeah, you asked about my morning routine. My evening routine is I always write my gratitude journal at the end of the day. And right. So
Is there anything else?
Gratitude is so important.
Yeah, well, morning and evening, right? They're both very important. I find you so inspiring.
Oh, thank you, Carrie. I feel the same way about you. You're amazing. You were on my podcast, so.
I was. So yeah, tell us about your podcast. I think that's great too.
Oh, so I actually have two podcasts. There's Get Your Fill, which I started because, Phil is like fire, except I'm too old for fire. So I went with long life. So financial independence and long life. Which is fun. I get to talk to everybody in that one, but Women Creating Wealth is the one which is geared just to women in the real estate investing space, whether they want to become real estate investors or whether they already are on some level. We try to add value to everyone. Again,
you're just inspiring women. It's amazing. Speaking of inspiration, who inspires you?
Oh, there are a lot of people, but the person who quickly comes to mind is one of my mentors. Her name is Anne McNeil, and she is just such a powerhouse. She's the kind of person where I met her through stock investing. I joined a stock investment club, and she sort of organized it, but didn't want to lead it. And for example, we were going to this is just something that personifies her. We were going to the Better Investing National Convention, which is a group that, right, it's just a regular stock convention. You learn different tools and learn about stocks and whatnot. And so somebody said, oh, we should all invite someone, right? Someone else to introduce them to stock investing, get them into, right, the whole empowerment piece. And Anne says, I'm going to get some sponsors and rent a bus and get 50 young people to come with us. And I was like, so here I am thinking, oh, who could I invite? And she just amped it up in 2 seconds and she did. She got a sponsor, she got a bus, and she got t-shirts for all the kids. And on that free day, that Saturday, that was like a free day of the convention, 50 young people with bright red shirts on got off that bus and just took the place by storm. It was amazing. It was just amazing.
Yeah. Oh, that is inspiring for sure. But I see you doing that yourself with women as well. I mean, in your own way, right? But still, if some lady came up to you and had no idea, like no idea where to start, whether it be in real estate investing or this entrepreneurial journey, what would you say? Like, what advice would you give her today?
You know what has helped me a lot was writing my obituary.
Oh,
which was Anne's idea, right? So Anne also does coaching and stuff. And she, at one of her retreats, we had to write our obituary. And actually now we do it every year. And it sounds kind of morbid. I was like, I don't want to talk about or think about that. But actually, when you start thinking about how you want to be remembered and how you want your journey to end, then it's easier to work backward. And I realized that I really was interested in the arts and I wanted to be a patron of the arts. So that's one of the things that's on that I've donated millions of dollars to the arts in my local community and things like that. And so then you think, well, what am I going to wait till I'm 80 to start donating money to the arts? Or you have to do that today and things like that. So as you start to really envision who you hope to become, it's a lot easier to work backward from there. So that's something that maybe you could do. Also, I think actually that 4-question exercise is kind of fun that could potentially help people to figure out, because you think, oh, I was a secretary, but then you think, but you know what? I used to do meeting planning for the office and I love that. So that's one piece of a job that you had that you could then blow up into another type of role, because we all make the mistake of thinking that everyone else in the world has all of our skills plus their own, right? But actually, and that allows us to forget about some of the ways in which we're really special and some of our superpowers.
Oh, I love that. I really, really love that. In fact, I need to shift that with the way I talk to my children. I'm always telling them things like, every job has crap that nobody wants to do. Like, that's just life. But maybe I need to shift it and be like, every job has great stuff. Maybe you just need to pay attention to that.
That would definitely be more beneficial for them.
Of course, but it's usually the negative that they're like, why do I have to do this? I'm like, every job has something crappy. Like every job does. Sorry, it's just life.
Suck it up.
Back up. Exactly. Along your journey, what struggles, like, and we all have them, right? But is there any that stand out in your past that you're like, if I had known this, I could have escaped, or, I could have jumped over that hard time?
Oh, so many. so many. But you know what? They all somewhat come down to the same thing, which was that I had some kind of an aversion to asking for advice.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, the first property that I purchased, my first investment property. So, imagine like at 16, I really wanted that 3-family in Lawrence, Massachusetts. So when I was 25, when the market was in a very different place, I was determined to buy that property. So my poor ex-husband, I wrangled him into the idea of buying this place. And so same thing, we didn't ask for any advice. We didn't have our own realtor. We didn't have anybody on our side. I didn't have my own attorney because I was going to save money, right? And I didn't know enough to see the leases, to see the credit history, to see the applications, to see what was going on, the rent rolls, nothing. I didn't know anything. So on the closing day, I found out that the seller of the property, had moved out the 2 tenants who were paying into one of his other properties and left me with the 1 tenant who wasn't paying. So now I had a very expensive property because I think it was like $115,000 by the time I bought it, right? It wasn't $16,000 anymore. And nobody was paying their rent. And of course, the traditional stupid landlord I go meet with the woman who's still there. And I say, what's going on with the rent? Oh, I just ran into this problem, but I'm definitely going to be paying you. I'm so sorry. I just need a month, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, it was like, I don't know how long it took me to finally evict her. And I ended up driving out the 1 paying tenant who I got, and I ended up losing the property to foreclosure. But not until everybody had moved out, they came and stole all the copper pipes out of the basement. There was a huge flood. Oh yeah. Every stupid thing you do. Yeah, so that was me at 25.
Yeah, but then you said that your continued theme was you don't like to ask.
Right.
So why is that? Like, what do you think it is about you that just isn't willing to ask for help?
Well, I'm much, much better now. It's still like, that new thing. I don't, it's not new, but like who, not how. Like, who can do this besides me? Not how am I going to do this? I wish someone would have hammered that into my brain because it's insecurity, right? I didn't want to admit that I didn't know things. I didn't want to admit that I wasn't already an expert in this field that everybody should know about, real estate investing, or whatever the case might have been. I just didn't. I wanted to know everything. And so actually being more confident makes me much more likely to say, I have no freaking clue what you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Please teach me, please enlighten me. And
that has actually been my go-to theme within real estate. I've never been too proud to say, you know what, I'm not sure. Let me check that out for you. And that has been actually the key for me to success within real estate, because I don't pretend like people. I'm just real. I'm like, I'm not sure. Let me find out.
And people would much rather hear that than, because people know when you're faking it. Right?
Yep, for sure. Now, today, though, if I recall, this is your 60th year.
Yes, it is.
Yes. And you have some pretty fun things that you are working on achieving this year.
I do. Lots of things. I just signed up for dance lessons because I want to become a really good, maybe I don't want to have to win a competition, but I want to at least be able to not feel like an idiot in one. So I want to become a really good dancer and lots of traveling. I actually became 60. I actually turned 60 on a cruise ship in the Greek islands, which was really fun. And that,
did you dance
I just
away
want
there?
that to continue, to visit countries that I have never been to. I want to visit all the countries in the world someday. I guess Antarctica can be last. But
Iceland, Greenland.
yeah, exactly. That can be toward the end. But I've never been to South America. So I've been all over Europe and I've been to Thailand. Okay. But and Australia, actually. But so there's so many more continents and countries and places that I need to visit. And I'm trying to work them with conventions and stuff like that.
There you go.
It can be a write-off. So a little finagling, but actually I'm focusing right now on making sure that I have people here at the co-working space who can take the reins when I'm not here.
What a fun year. I want to see you on TikTok. I want to see you dancing away. Those are the ones that always catch my eyes, like those impromptu dances when you see couples that are like just something. I'm like, how do they dance so great? Like, I want to do that. So I don't blame you for wanting to have that on your list of things to learn.
I love to dance. There's nothing like dancing with a really great dancer, which is not everyone. But this place that I found, actually, when you sign up for lessons, every week you get a private lesson plus like a group lesson. I thought that was fantastic because you're just going to be so much better by taking these private lessons as well.
Yeah.
Right. Instead of just group lessons and then you're with whoever, right? They change partners. You just dance with whoever goes by, who may or may not be good. And you don't know, is it me? Is it them? But this way, when you've got the reinforcement of the private lesson, and they're obviously taking private lessons as well. So it just seems like it's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah.
Like I said, I'm going to see you on TikTok here. I'm waiting for it.
No doubt.
That should be added to your bucket list this year.
Become a TikTok dance
TikTok star.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Like I said, you have this ongoing theme within you of just continuing to evolve and continuing to build new things. So what's next? What's on next on your list outside of these goals of being 60 and dancing and traveling?
Yeah. Well, this whole year, of course, is celebration year, right? So that's the 60 year. But I have lots of things. I'm just so, all these ideas just come to me. I'm just like a brander's nightmare. Like when you say, what do you do? Well, what do I do? Well, I do this and this is like crazy. What I've just started doing, and which I absolutely love, is because when I turned 50, I had this major crisis. Like, oh my God, I'm already 50. I wasted my life. Now I'm out of time. There's no, right. I was just like, so blah, not really, feeling good about myself at 50. So, and I hear so many other women saying those things. I'm too old to do this. Even in their 40s, I'm too old to go back to school. I'm too old to, try to be an entrepreneur at this age. And then it just gets worse. Like, oh, now my eyesight and I can't drive anywhere. And I'm just like, Jesus, people, you could live another 40, 50, 60 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've started to coach women who are feeling that way, right? They're like, I don't want to give up and just say, that's it. My life's over now. I'm just going to wait till I can retire and play golf every day, right? I want that fire, that energy, that excitement that comes from having something that a passion project that you just cannot wait to dive out of bed in the morning and just get started on it. And, I've got to talk to this one and this one. And right. It's just so much fun. And we all have that. We all have something like that, but it might be sort of pushed down, a little bit sublimated from putting the children first, putting the husband first, putting the job. I've got to make some money first. There are just so many different things that can allow that dream to sort of fade, but it's still smoldering there. You just need to, blow a little air on it and it's going to light right back up. So.
Well, that speaks to my heart. As you know, I mean, I did put my life on hold for my children and my husband and all the things. And so, yeah. And I'm doing the same thing now and hoping to inspire women. And there's so much more out there. There's so much more. And oh my gosh, the fact that you turned 50 and we're having a meltdown, that scares me. I don't want to, I don't want to do that. But I also, I love that you are embracing that is a real thing. Like it is a real problem, honestly, in this country that we do that we think that we have to put ourselves aside and not do the joys of life, or that we think 50 is old and that we can't move on to the next thing or have a new adventure. I mean, that's just disappointing. I think life should be more exciting.
Well, and it's getting a little better. You do sometimes see people with wrinkles on television now and stuff like that, but there's a lot of societal. I mean, just go through the course of a day, and maybe it's just the people I'm hanging out with. Maybe that I'm just have older people, but they're all like, oh, my eyesight, I'm tired. You can't get out of a chair without using your arms. Like, no, I make a point of like, when I stand up, I can't use my hands. I just have to use my legs and my core. And right. I mean but because I saw myself doing that, like when I dropped something on the floor, I was basically like scrunching all the way down instead of just bending over because I had lost that flexibility. And I said, when did I start doing that? Right. It's just so gradual that we just start to, and you like, I feel better than I did when I was younger. I feel like I look better than I do when I was younger. I certainly am more excited and energized. So, I mean, it sounds cliche, age is just a number, but it's so mental. This whole thing is so mental.
Absolutely. 100%. I agree with that. I know so many women that are even in their 80s and you would never know. Like you would have no clue. I mean, actually one of our dearest friends is going to be 80 this year. And she just shows up in my house and drinks wine and chats like she's just she hangs out with my girlfriends and I love it. I'm like, she's just on fire. If I can be like that, that would be amazing.
My aunt who helped me when I turned 50, 3 weeks later, she turned 100. And I just walked into her party and she's sitting there with a tiara, with a sash. And she's like, everybody who comes in, she knows who they are, their name, their birthday, their husband, their kids. I'm like, my dad's one of 10. There are so many cousins and people floating around. I don't know any of them. And and I just thought, oh my God, I have 50 more years. And she painted, actually, she was an artist. She painted oil paints until she was 103.
Oh.
Yeah, she was just, and she, doing puzzles, lived alone right up until the day she died. She was just such a fun, amazing person. And that's it. If you have passion, if you love what you're doing, look at Rita Moreno. I mean, I look at her. I saw her when she was in Kisses of the Spider-Woman on Broadway. I don't know how many years ago. She was in her 70s or 80s then, and she's crawling up this netting on the stage. And I'm thinking, I mean, I know she was at least in her 70s. And I'm going, holy cow. Then I just saw her on TV the other day. I'm like, she looks younger than she did then. It's just amazing. But she loves what she does, right? She loves her dancing. She loves acting and being out there. And so she's just aging in reverse. It is a thing.
Yeah, absolutely. If you had some last words or a last thought, some words of wisdom that you'd want to share with people, what would it be?
How about like a really, really cliche, like just do it. How about that? How about Nike? Just
Nikes?
I mean, you can 100% do it. You are mentally younger than you think you are, that you have so much more than you maybe think you do. And if you can't discover it on your own, if you really don't feel it, if you really don't think you can do it, then find somebody, an older person for inspiration, a mentor, a coach, somebody who will help you to reignite with that passion. Because you think, okay, gee, I'm really old. I'm already 60. But what if I live to be 100? Am I going to spend 40 more years in this unpleasant place? That's a long flipping time, right? That is a long time. That's your whole adult life. You want to spend that again, still not living up to your expectations, still not living up to your potential?
Yeah. Just do it. That's great. Especially because I'm an Oregon girl. So, just do it is very fitting for the world I live in. Well, Christine, I am so glad that you joined me today. I would love
Carrie, I'm so excited we got to have another conversation.
I know, and we're not done yet, because I would love it at some point if you would. I have a monthly women's group that's called Dreams to Reality, and I would love it sometime if you just be my guest and share your wisdom with these ladies, because they are in the same boat. They are pursuing their dreams, and they are both in their 40s, and they're amazing, and they're really growing. But
I would be honored, Carrie. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. But in the meantime, where can people find you? Where can I guess
the easiest way. So right, I have the same branding problem. Rather than listing 75 different places, if you go to chrismccarron.com, you can, with a little bit of work, you can connect to me in all different kinds of places from there. So that would be my suggestion, my easy suggestion.
Is there any like your coaching program? Is there any way I can direct people to you that way? I mean, especially if they heard you today and they thought, yeah, I need that person in my life. Like, I'm stuck. I can know there can be more. And Carrie's not that person for me because she hasn't been there
yet. That seems incredible. I find that
No,
hard to
I mean,
believe.
in a different way. Right. I mean, I believe that the world needs you and the world needs me, and in different ways. Right. So I am happy. I want to, anybody who says, oh, Christine spoke to me.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, just email me, chris@chrismccarron.com. Very easy. And I would love to hear from you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again.
Thank you.
I appreciate your time.